Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode Tap In with Tristan. We got our Long Live Amityville edition. So I'm excited about this one right here. We're going to be talking to a living legend, Mr. Rob Carpenter. Talk to him, boss man.
What's good, people? I'm here to tap in.
Yeah, here to tap in, man. So once again, man, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot of things shaking right now. So really just wanted to just get a little backstory about you, man. Tell us what it was like growing up in Amityville, man. Let's go back to the elementary days, man. What that looked like?
Well, from probably your pops, man. I was around. Elementary school days was in the 70s, man. So that was literally, the preamble to the crack era.
Absolutely.
In the Ville. So, I grew up in Ronald Drive, man. So, it's in the middle of everything in North Amityville. So, there's plenty of people that are around or that were around then, that were not doing the great things in the streets. But, like everybody else, I just try to get my little niche in and stay away from all the craziness in the streets, man. But, I have friends that still got till today, man, that I was growing up with back in that time.
Yeah. So I mean, like you said, man, the block was heavy when you were still young. So you had to navigate that part that, something that was a little bit more cleaned up by the time I was coming through. So what was that like? You know what I mean? I know sports was one of the ways too, but what's that like?
Well, I was in the middle of two things, man. So I had the block on one side and I had Browns on the other.
Yeah.
So, trying to navigate my way around, staying away from those issues. I had older sisters, older brother, and they were running around. They knew where everything was. I just tried to, stay around my closest friends that I knew wasn't trying to get into all the craziness, man. That's basically what it was about. You know what I'm saying? So whether I was going towards Sunrise Highway, towards Browns, or whether I was going up towards the block, I just tried to navigate my way around and always be aware of what was going on, because, Amityville is like every other hood, man. You just never know what was going to happen.
That's
and, staying with the dudes that I hung out with and the people that I was with, we just tried to do things to keep ourselves busy. It wasn't like, the video game days, man. Like nowadays with all social media stuff, we had to find some things to do. So
really outside.
Yeah. That's what it was. We was really outside. Like really
outside. Yes, the term now, but that's how you really grew up. So when did you start getting into the sports? We got an illustrious career ahead of us, but when did you start really getting into that?
Fourth grade is when I actually started playing organized football.
Okay.
It wasn't a team in Amityville at that time, so I went over to Massapequa. I was playing with the Massapequa Mustangs.
Okay.
Played it for a few years until Amityville came back, and then I could name a bunch of legends on the first Amityville Warriors Little League team that I was on, man. There's a bunch of dudes that were around, that were playing, and whether they street legends or ball legends, everybody would probably know every name.
Give us a couple names. Give us a couple names for people tapping in.
Marky Peterson, Sean Fields, Eugene Akins, Ducky,
Yeah.
Mark Gould, Dwayne Gould, Melvin Nottingham. I'm sure if I think of a few more. I'm pretty sure everybody that's been around Amityville knows all those names right there.
That's a strong list right there, big bro.
We was in the streets, man. That's what we was doing. We was playing football. We was out in the streets. So, whether it was football, baseball, basketball, that's the stuff that kept us busy. You went around the neighborhood, man, looking for the bikes. So wherever the bikes were, you know where everybody was, man.
That's where you pulling up at.
That's what it is. It's like everybody looking for the cars nowadays. Nah, you was looking for the bikes.
He's looking for the bikes, man. There's a collection of bikes over there. We pulling up. That's what it's at. So what did middle school look like for you? You know what I'm saying? I know when I was around, that's right in the heart of the town right there, man. What that look like for you?
Well, that was like right down the street from me, man. I was, walk to school to and from. So, that's basically when I got into the big parts of hooping, big parts of playing football. Once I got into middle school, man, the junior high was the spot for everything. And freshman year was when I started realizing, some things actually might be able to take place with the sports thing, whether it's basketball or football. And initially, if you ask pretty much everybody around the way, they thought it was going to be basketball. So did I, honestly.
Really?
I was heavy in the hoops, man. The AAU teams had just started back up around Long Island because when I got into middle school at that time, there wasn't an AAU team around Long Island. You had to go into Queens to play AAU ball. So Jeff Inc. brought the AAU squad back to Long Island, and
what year we talking about? What years we talking about, big bro? Let them know. What years we talking about middle school going into this high school time frame?
This is the early 80s, man, when all this was going on. Yeah. So like 81, 82 is when all the AAU stuff started coming back around.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And we had a little traveling squad, man. There was two teams. There was an older team, a senior team, and a junior team. And I started out on the junior team, but we traveled. Both squads traveled. So whether it was going upstate or going to DC to play in the big AAU tournament down there, it was good. It was a good thing to happen, with everybody. Matter of fact, I throw some other legend names out there that Chris Nicholson.
Big Chris.
Yeah. We was on the same AAU squad, man. So it was a little hodgepodge of dudes from Long Island that was around. We went down into DC, man, to play in that big tournament. And believe it or not, we ended up losing in the finals. Well, a lot of people didn't think that we had the squad to do it.
That's dope.
That put me on the track right there, man, to keep things moving with hoop. And to be honest with you, Jeff Inc. was the one who actually steered me a little towards football, man. I'm pretty sure he might have did it to a few other people, because I heard Mike James say the story too. But coming along, when it came down to it, Jeff was like, "Yo, there's like 6'3" guards coming down a dozen all over the place." But 6'3" receivers ain't there. You know what I'm saying? No. So if you're looking for the long haul, he's like, "Yo, just think about playing football rather than basketball." He's like, "So just keep that in mind." I did. Honestly, I kept that in mind, man, all the way through my high school career.
That's facts. So I mean, at least you have somebody in your ear to keep and kind of look at that, because I can relate to that. Saying more than you know. But what was it like, crossing over into the high school and then playing for, Mr. Fred Williams and everything like that, man? Talk to us about that. Not everybody knows that whole situation.
Fred was real strict, man, to be honest with you. So a lot of dudes really didn't want to play varsity ball, man, because of the, his rules that he had.
Right.
One of the rules was if you wasn't playing basketball, well, if basketball season wasn't on, you had to play another sport, especially in the spring. So if you had to play baseball, you had to run track, something. He wanted to keep you busy and keep you out the way of everything that was going on around Amityville at that time. Yeah. So, a lot of people didn't like that, but I kind of got away with it because I played football in the fall, which some dudes actually didn't play sports in the fall. They just waited for basketball season to come around. Right. So I was going right from football right to the basketball court, and basically told Fred, "Man, listen, I'm not doing anything in the spring, bro.
I'm flip-flopping. I'm taking mine in the fall.
I'm taking a break, yo." So really, I only ran track 1 year, man. And that was it. But, unless you had thick skin to be around him, man, you really couldn't deal with some of the things that he did. Because a lot of times he didn't give you a reason why he was doing certain things. He just did it. Like I could tell you a game, man, where I had like 20 points at halftime and I sat the whole second half. Never gave me a reason. Boy, Derek John, everybody was going for the scoring record of the school. Yep. And I believe at that time it was 40 or 42 points, something like that.
Yep.
And we were playing a game against Copeg. I had 35 at the end of the third. Ended up sitting in the fourth quarter. No reason, yo. So it wasn't like it was a blowout. You know what I'm saying? It was a tight game. But same thing happened to my boy Derek Johnson. We went to go out to Islip, man, and Derek had 28 in the first quarter. And I didn't mind, yo. We was just feeding him. Like, he was hot, man. Like, yo, go ahead, do your thing. And we was blowing him out. Whole second half, Derek didn't play. You know what I'm saying? He ended up with 30 points. Fred never gives you a reason for that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it rubs people the wrong way. But, you just end up taking it with a grain of salt, man, and just keep it moving.
Yeah, I had to figure it out because that's your coach, man. But that changed a lot, too, because, that's kind of the opposite, what I'm saying, of how Jack Agostino.
Yeah, Ag was all with y'all, man. Believe me, I understand. Because Ag was on the staff,
right?
With Fred. So I get it, man. Ag was like, he ain't gonna do the same things that Fred did. He gave y'all a lot of freedom. Fred actually didn't like a lot of us doing a lot of street ball stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? If you dribble the ball between your legs, Fred was blowing whistles in practice. He's like, yo, what you doing? Playing. So, but after a certain point, man, the brunt of us actually played varsity from 10th grade on.
Yep.
So, he really couldn't say much to us because, you know, we had all that, you know, time that we had with him, you know, going along and all the practice that we had, all the games that we played. And, you know, if I'm gonna dribble the ball behind my back or going between my legs, throw behind the back pass, I'm like, look, that's me playing ball, man. You just gonna
it's happening, man. I'm out here rocking, man. You gonna have to ease up.
You're just gonna have to get used to it. And he finally let up a little bit, man. But you know, he didn't even like dudes dunking in games. And I'm like, nah, man. If I get a chance to dunk on somebody, I'm gonna do it.
I'm doing it.
And if I got a break, I'm dunking. So it is what it is, man. He just didn't like. He's like, if you miss a dunk, you're coming out. All right, I'm just gonna take that chance.
I'm not gonna miss the dunk. So, so I'm saying, like, so this is shaping you guys' character because you're dealing with a strict gentleman that's your coach, man, giving y'all some strong guidelines, but you're finding a way how to navigate through that. What was it like being a dual sport athlete? You know what I'm saying? And what did the recruitment look like for you, boss? Because you was ringing out on both sports.
Well, it got a little hectic at one point in time, man. I wanted to play basketball, to be honest with you. I really didn't want to play football, but the recruitment from football started coming hot and heavy, like all at once, man. Like it just ballooned up my junior year.
And what positions are you playing, big bro? What position you playing on the football field? Because I knew you was a little bit of everything.
I played QB and DB, man. Honestly, most of the schools that was recruiting me for defensive back.
Okay.
I was one of the top DBs in the state in 85, 86. So I was leading the state in interceptions at one point in time.
Cooking out there.
You know, most of the schools recruiting me as a defensive back, and I really didn't want to play DB, but I still wanted to play basketball.
Okay.
So Fred kind of put the kibosh on a lot of basketball recruitment, man. To be honest with you, yeah, he told some of the schools that I was going to end up playing football, so they kind of wasted time.
They fell back.
Yeah, which he didn't tell me that at first, man. I found out later on. It was one of the coaches who was actually recruiting me for football, but was going to allow me to play basketball. He told me.
Wow.
So yeah, so that kind of put a little sour taste in my mouth, you know, for a while, man. But you know, I really couldn't complain too much about it because all the D1 football scholarships offers was rolling in. You know what I mean? Wow. And as I was going along, man, to be honest with you, some of the schools that I was breaking it down to that I was, you know, going to make my choice between, I asked them straight up, you know, is it all right if I play basketball? And a couple of schools said, yeah, you know, if you're good enough to make the team, yeah. And so a couple of the squads actually sent the basketball recruiters out to check me out while basketball season was still going on in my senior year. And when it came down to it, they were like, yeah, you know, if you choose to play, you know,
we're gonna
first thing is football, second thing is grades and going into basketball season. But you know, when it finally came down to it, man, choosing Notre Dame just was strictly for football.
Notre Dame, dude. like I mean, that's one of the schools, you know what I'm saying, that everybody knows.
Right.
Everybody knows. So there's a lot of expectation going there. You know what I'm saying? A young man from Amityville. I know the neighborhood is buzzing. You know what I'm saying? What was the family like? How'd you feel, dude? Expectations is high. Talk to us.
The funny part about that whole thing is, man, it was coming down between Notre Dame, Penn State, Iowa, and Syracuse.
Yeah.
And when Lou Holtz actually came to the school, you know, he came during the day.
That's OD.
And was walking the halls of the school. And I'm sitting in the cafeteria. I had a break. I knew he was coming. You know what I'm saying? Right. And when he walked into the front of the school, man, you just heard a mad buzz in the hallway.
That's a buzz.
So everybody knows what the school is like, man. You know, the cafeteria doors are straight down from the front of the school doors.
Straight through.
And he came in between the period, man. So like when he walked in the doors, everybody was going in between periods. So everybody in the hallways just stopped and it just like kind of got crazy for a second. And I'm looking down the hallway, just started laughing, man. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. But you know, it was a big buzz around the neighborhood when people found out that Lou Holtz was actually in the building. And then, you know, Joe Paterno not too long after that. So, you know,
legends of the game.
Two big dogs coming through Amityville, you know, in the game of football, man. It kind of just created a whole big buzz around everything that was around there at that time.
Did you recognize the magnitude of it, man? Or are you just being you?
I was just being me, honestly. You know, I knew what Lou Holtz was about. Everybody knew what Lou Holtz was about. Everybody knew what Joe Paterno was about. My pops was a big Penn State fan.
Yep.
My grandfather was a big Notre Dame fan.
Okay.
So, with the fam, it was either or. Yeah. It was either or right there.
Yeah.
But the one reason I actually chose Notre Dame is because they was gonna give me a chance to play offense. That was my whole thing. I didn't really want to play defense. I wanted to play on the offensive side of the ball. I actually went out there as a QB. So they gave me that shot. But what happened was during our freshman part of training camp when I first got there, a bunch of dudes got hurt. So I actually moved out to receiver and just never left.
Wow.
That's all it was about.
Wow. So let's talk about your college career, man. What happens next?
During that year, right at the beginning of my freshman year, I'm there and where I worked my way up through the lineup, to be honest with you, man. And I hurt my shoulder 5 days before the opening game.
Yep.
In practice.
Okay.
And I didn't know I actually was going to be redshirted until 2 days before the game. So I hurt my shoulder in practice, kept practicing. I actually even played in a final scrimmage that we had of training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Caught some passes and still played, well enough. I was the backup to Tim Brown, who actually was the Heisman Trophy winner that year.
Heisman Trophy winner, man. Big
so, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, man. When I was called into Holtz's office saying that they was going to sit me down, it rubbed me really wrong. Leave at that point. I want to transfer right then and there because school hadn't started around the country for a lot of other schools at that point in time. It was still in August.
Y'all was ahead of the game.
Yeah. So the schools that I was thinking about transferring to hadn't started school. So I could literally transfer right at that point in time and still be eligible to play my freshman year because school hadn't started.
Wow. Okay. You was thinking about that. Let me just hit the ground running. I'm going.
Yeah. And one of the schools was Michigan State, which came in late in the recruiting process, but they were only an hour and a half away from where I already was.
Yep.
Out there in the Midwest, man. So, but talk to my pops. Pops was like, man, just stick it out, man. You never know what's gonna happen for the year. Just put your foot down, make your mark during this year, and just let it ride. So, that's basically what I did. I just rode out the year, man. Practiced, went to school, did what I had to do out there. I still wasn't feeling right, man. Coming into the spring, but going through the full spring workouts, full spring practice, ended up getting MVP in the spring game. And still was ready to leave. I still didn't feel comfortable though. I was like,
right. It wasn't right.
Nah. So, one thing that taught me was patience though, for real. Because I knew I was ready to transfer, and transferring, I knew I was gonna have to sit for a year. So it was gonna be basically 2 years before I was actually on the football field again, from the time I left school, being on the field all the time to getting back on the field. I knew it was gonna be 2 years. But that whole scenario and experience actually helped me out a whole lot, man, to be honest with you. Because like I said, the patience thing actually helped me out tremendously when I got to Syracuse.
Character builder, you know what I'm saying? Character builder, that transition from, young man into adulthood is a gut punch, man. You get a lot of moving parts in that thing.
A lot of people actually wouldn't be able to deal with it because I saw it firsthand. When I transferred to Syracuse, there was a couple of other guys who actually transferred at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time we got around to the spring, I was the only one left. So, the other guys couldn't take the fact that they actually had to sit out, that they still had to go through the whole process of actually trying to fight for a spot. And, they just said, you know what, they're just going to transfer down and then see about coming back up in another year or two. But, that was the end of that.
That's the end of that. Dude, you're Syracuse Orange, man, playing in the Carrier Dome. They made that choice, man. What did that look like, man? They ring it out now, man. Syracuse is big time at this time too.
Yeah. When I got there, that was the year after they had just basically should have won the national title. They was undefeated. They got tied in the Sugar Bowl by Auburn. And that should have been their national championship year.
Yep.
But that whole squad was basically coming back except for Don McPherson, another Long Island native.
Yep.
And the team was still pretty good, man. Following year, they went 10-2. And I'm learning about all about Syracuse at that time. Not to say that I didn't know about it, because, you know, you probably don't know this, but, you know, back then, Syracuse games was on every week. They came on every Sunday morning. So every Sunday morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, the replay of every Syracuse game was on. So I watched it with my pops every Sunday. So I knew about everything they had. I knew a few of the guys that was already there. So, you know, me going there was a comfort feeling. You know, being back in New York, I know like, at that time, I think I knew like 6 dudes that was already on the team because they was all from Long Island. We had all, you know, interacted with each other at one point or another, where I was playing basketball, playing football, something, just, you know, meeting in the streets.
Yeah, growing up, man, we don't, you know, cross paths
with all those dudes. So it was like a whole Long Island connection up there, man. On the football field and off, you know, there was a whole lot of people that actually went to school up there from Long Island. I actually had one of my classmates that up there, Evelyn Hoskins. She was going to Syracuse. So, you know,
you was comfortable on there, man.
It was all comfort up there, man. I had no issues, you know, fitting in. And honestly, Syracuse, the way they lived up there, as far as the athletes go, you didn't really see that around the country, man, because there was apartments that everybody lived in. And the campus is kind of separated, where the athletic departments are on the south part of the campus. And anybody who's been up there, they know the apartments that are all athletes in are right behind the facility. So you really didn't have far to go. You could walk to the facility, man, in less than 5 minutes. It's just the fact that you had to get down to campus for class.
Right.
Which is a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story, man. Sometimes that seems real far.
You know, back then, it seemed like it was miles and miles and miles
away, man. Like, yo, this seems a little far, man, but that's something that's part of it, man. That's part of the thing. How did our career go at Syracuse, man? How did we do, man? What was the experience with that?
My first year fitting in, you know, there was dudes there that, you know, was being touted as All-Americans. My old roommate, Rob Moore, who was a first-round draft choice with the Jets. You know, that was the year where he set goals where he was going to set some records at Syracuse. I'm kind of like following right along with that, knowing, you know, he's going for these records, but the little chips that fall my way, I'm taking them and I'm running with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm so it was crazy at the end of the season, man. I wasn't expecting none of this to happen during the season. But at the end of the season, when it came down to it, I was notified that you know, Rob made first team AP All-American, and I was an honorable mention All-American, which shocked me. You know, I'm like, what? You know, I'm looking around the country. You know, you got all these other schools that are around. You got these other receivers putting up all these big numbers. The thing was that as a school in general, and as an offense in general, we really didn't throw the ball a lot, man, at Syracuse at that time. We were a running football team, and we didn't. The offenses back then were nothing like what you see nowadays, man.
It's not airing it out like that. That's rare.
No. If we threw the ball 20 times a game, you know, that was desperation. To be honest with you, seriously. Like, I think the most that year, I think the most passes that was in a game was 28. And
that's in a quarter now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, you got dudes throwing 52, 55 passes a game, but the game was just different, man. We didn't go 3 wide receivers. We didn't go 4 wide receivers. You stayed on the field. We had a set, and honestly, you played every play. It's just different formations you came into. So you had to be, as playing wide receiver, you had to be tough. You know what I'm saying? Because you had to block.
You out there blocking, bro. You blocking most of the time,
which was unheard of for receivers, you know, back then and even now. You hear the guys that talk about some of the best receivers that are in the NFL right now. Some of those dudes block real good. You know what I'm saying? Because they stay on the field, regardless of what formation teams are in. But you know, it was a time for that year, man. I'm just like, yo, it was almost surreal, the stuff that was going on during that season. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, I had to sit out for 2 years, and once I jumped on the field, I'm like, yo, I'm taking this and I'm running with it. But
I'm running with this thing.
Still didn't feel, you know, like it was something that was really happening. You know, I didn't really sit down until after the season and realize, yo, this is really what happened for this year. You know what I mean? And then the following year, what ended up happening was my goal was to shoot for 1,000 yards. That was my whole goal. And shoot for 18 yards a catch. I was close enough with him. The bad thing was I hurt my ankle in the first game. And that slowed me down for the next 3. But, you know, I was 100 yards short of that 1,000. And I think I was like 5 yards short of that 18 yards a catch. But, you know, my career was over, man. Honestly, just in those 2 years, I was in the top 5 of receiving at Syracuse in all time. And probably for the next 10, 15 years, I stayed in the top 10 with the numbers that I put up for just those 2 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Coming from Amityville, New York, going to Notre Dame, heralded university, doing well, but stuff ain't rock like that. Back to Syracuse, had to sit out
Yeah.
and on the field and produce, and then hurt your ankle and still produce. That's toughness, bro. That's a lot of character building, man, and it's a lot of perseverance, dude. So hats off to you, boss man, for not only just representing the neighborhood, man, but just persevering as a young man. That's dope.
Well, I had to persevere a whole lot more after that too, man, because you know, I decided right after my second year on the field, I was gonna leave. That was the first year that juniors could leave.
Let's talk about that. You blazing the trail, boss man.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be one of the first in this group. Because actually I felt like I was good enough to be an NFL player at that time.
Looking at NFL now. I think I'm ready for the highest level.
Well, I looked around to see all the dudes that was actually in the league around the time that I'm playing college ball that just came out. And I'm like, you know, if I'm not better than these dudes, I don't really need to be playing. But I felt like I was better than a lot of guys I was actually playing. Yep. But my decision came along like real late. You know, I had until the end of January to make my decision. Literally, I just got back to school the middle of January off my break, coming from the bowl game. So everything happened like in a whirlwind, you know, like everything was happening so fast every day. Me trying to get paperwork done, me trying to get ready to go to the combine, which, you know, I only had a week before when I made my decision to leave school. I had 1 week before the combine, so I wasn't even ready to go.
You weren't even fully prepared like they be doing now. They take months.
Yeah, as soon as the season's over, most of the dudes nowadays, man, go into a training program, man, before they get ready for the combine. And the combine is later in February now than it was back then, because it was early in February when things was going down back then. But you know, I just said, you know what, I'm gonna rock with it. I still feel like I could play this game. I know how important testing is, but my initial thought was go to the combine and just take my physical and then leave. And then, you know, I'll do my pro days back at Syracuse when I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? I went to the combine, I took my physicals and then decided to work out, which probably hurt me in the end, man, because I didn't run as fast as I actually should have ran. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I wasn't ready. But I made that up when I got back to Syracuse for my pro days. And, you know, I blazed the trail but, you know, it was so late in the process when I actually had my pro day. It was still weird, man. Like I had grades from dudes telling me that I was a late first rounder to a fifth rounder. So I didn't know, you know, what was going to go on.
A big gap.
I just had this conversation with somebody else on the radio the other day, man, where I just said, you know, they asked me, was I nervous, you know, a couple of days before the draft, even draft day. I wasn't, because I really had no idea what was going to happen.
I don't
you know,
my agent, big gap.
My agent kept telling me, he's like, man, you never know. He was like, you don't know what's going to happen. All the reports that come out, most of them are lies. You know what I'm saying? Which I can, you know, come to find out, which basically is true. But what happened was, what I ended up finding out was that that my ankle issue that happened early in that season came up in those tests.
The physicals.
Yeah. And you know, basically it knocked me down, knocked my stock down.
Yeah.
When I end up looking at it, you know, when I looked at all the dudes that was drafted the year that I played, none of them that was drafted before me, oh, I ain't gonna say none of them. There's only 2, I believe, that was drafted before me, played longer than I did. So, you know, I knew at that time that I could play the game.
For sure.
It was just a matter of where I was going to be, and how much of an opportunity I was going to get. That's all. I knew I could play the game with no problem.
So you're one of the few that in a fraternity of being a professional athlete, which is the highest level. So that's an honor there. Talk to us about being an NFL veteran, man. Talk to us about that, because we're super proud of you guys as a community, man. It's dope.
Once you like your main goal, everybody knows once you come into the league, the average, you know, length of a career is 3 years.
Yep.
And everybody who steps onto an NFL field, that's the first thing they shoot for. You know, you want to shoot for being in that average because, you know, you become a vested veteran. You basically get the perks of everything that comes along with being an NFL player after you become a vested veteran. So that's the first goal. Then any other goal that you want to set after that, you know, comes into play. My thing was, I wanted to play 8 to 10 years. I'm like, I set a goal 8 to 10 years. But going into my 6th year, honestly, man, I was married at the time. And I told my ex-wife at that time, I was like, this might be my last year because I'm banged up. Like I was beat up, man. There's a whole different level when you're getting banged around, at the NFL level, every week.
Right.
And after my 4th year, what I was coming to find out, man, is that, it was taking me longer and longer in the off season to start my workouts because I was still recovering.
You in that recovery process taking a long time.
Yeah, it was come from. So I would normally start my off season workouts the first week in February.
Mm-hmm.
But going into my 4th, 5th year, it started going into March where I started, basically starting my off season workouts, which was kind of late, man, because I'm recovering from whether it was my back or whether it's my shoulder.
Yep.
Something was always there, man. And I'm like, you know what? This is getting crazy where every year I'm rolling out of bed feeling like I'm 80 years old, man, in January and having to recover to get back
on the body. It's rough on the body.
So, going into, after my 6th year, I was like, this might be it. It came to an abrupt end early, right then and there, right after I said that, because I hurt my knee when I was in training camp in Green Bay, man. Yeah. And as soon as I did it, honestly, I was literally in my tuck and roll when I hurt my knee, man. I knew my knee was done, and I was like, yeah, that's it. Before I even hit the ground, I was like, yeah, that's it.
Gotta hang up the cleats.
As soon as I got into the training room, man, like I looked down at my knee and I was like, yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I ain't even gonna attempt to make this comeback because by the time I finish this rehab, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna be in a whole nother phase of my life at that time.
That's beautiful, man. And then let's talk about this, man. I mean, we could talk for hours and hours, man. We might have to do part 2 and 3 because I'm vibing and I'm enjoying this. What about this Amityville alumni event, man, that we got coming up, man? How you feel about that, man? Talk to us.
What's a dope thing, man, that you got going, bro? Like I ain't even going front, man. Like I'm happy about it because what it's gonna do is bring all Amityville back together. You know what I'm saying? And that's a great thing.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking to dudes and people that I know, from back then, and we all basically saying the same thing, man. A lot of us are going from our time. You know what I'm saying? From my time being in school, but the people that's still around, it's good to connect with everybody that's still around and connect with the younger people that's around, so they get to know who we are. You know what I'm saying? We get to know who they are. So this is actually a great thing, man. I'm happy you're doing it. I'm happy you bringing everybody back. And I'm pretty sure that everybody that's still around, even the people that's not in Amityville, that's close enough to come back in April, man, I'm pretty sure they're gonna come back to be a part of it. Because I've seen the response to it already. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So that's actually a dope thing, man. I'm happy you're doing it, bro.
Thank you. And for it's really to celebrate everybody individually and collectively on the same stage. Hasn't really been done. And then we get a chance to compete, a little bit and get up and down and talk our talk. But I just want to say thank you for taking time out, man, for coming back, because you're a pillar in the community for not just your sports, but how you conduct yourself. You've been ultimate professional and really holding our neighborhood down, since the 80s. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? And you was a big time athlete, you know what I'm saying? Dual sport athlete, all Long Island, all state, in multiple sports. That's rare. And for having all of these moving parts, man, for you to navigate and get all the way to the top of your profession, and then also know when to bow out and still conduct yourself, as a dignified gentleman as you get older, it's something to tip our hat to. So I appreciate you.
It's all good, man. I appreciate that. The one thing that's funny about Amityville, man, like we everywhere. We run into people from Amityville everywhere.
That's a fact.
And we always say, man, and I always say it, man, anytime I run into somebody, it could be anywhere around this world, man. Like, I always tell a quick story when I was at the Cuse, man. We went to play a game over in Tokyo. Who I run into over in Tokyo? De La.
De La's in Tokyo.
Right over there, man. And that's when they just got on. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, and it's funny, man, because we sat there and we talked for a few minutes in the airport in Tokyo. Like, yo, we everywhere now. Like, Amityville's everywhere. And
I bumped into people in Texas. It's a fact. We everywhere, man. And it's while we're still here, man, I want to celebrate everybody, man. So again, man, thank you, man. It's always love. I know you pressed for time. We might set up a part 2 so we can deep dive some other.
Yeah. Definitely. Part 2.
Part two, man. So for everybody, man, make sure y'all tap in, hit that subscribe button, man, and keep rocking with us. Big bro, much love. Until next time.
Appreciate it.
All right, chill.